Hey everybody, welcome to Average Guy Opinions. I'm your average guy, John Corelli, and I think I will actually be able to stay on target, stay on point with this segment of Average Guy Opinions. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Winter Olympics in Beijing, China, 2022. They just started this weekend. I believe we had um, the opening ceremony on either Friday or Saturday night. I think it's Friday night, and I've been watching it intermittently. Now, as a big hockey fan, I will probably tune in for some of the hockey games. But outside of hockey, there aren't a lot of team sports in the Winter Olympics, and so that's what actually kind of like about the Winter Olympics. Although I'm not as interested in the sports outside of hockey that are team sports and that aren't for that matter. But I do like that there are a lot of individual sports, and you can really get into these people. As I've gotten older, I've gotten more emotional, and I mean, I'm watching these people doing these amazing things that they will probably never be remembered for even if they're amazing at it. I'm not going to know. I just watched this last night. I'm not going to remember who the female ski jumping gold medalist was. I remember she was from Slovenia. I remember the second place woman was from Germany, and I remember the third place woman was also from Slovenia. Amazing women doing something I would never have the balls to do, or the ovaries to do in this case, but it's an amazing event. And I found myself getting kind of into it, and it was just great to watch. It was kind of heartbreaking. There was a Japanese woman, I forgot her name too, but she had been dominating. She dominates ski jumping for the last like 10 years. I think she's 34. She's not young, at least for that sport. And they said she dominates everything except for like the world medal events and the Olympics. She just plotzes, and she came in like fourth or fifth, so she didn't even make the medal round, or didn't even get on the podium. And it was hard to watch, and sometimes I start getting emotional, and I never like outright cry or anything, but I do. I get tears well up. I'm like, these people work their asses off to get a tiny moment in the sun, and it can all just go to shit. And that's it's kind of the human condition when you think about it. But it is a cool thing to watch. I love watching all these crazy events. The biathlon, where guys cross country ski and then target shoot with a rifle. A lot of people are like, what's the point of that? I go, there really is no point. But the reason that sport developed was in I think it was World War I, or maybe even prelude to World War I. I forgot the name of the war, but the Finns and the Russians fight and have fought for centuries, actually, and up in that, where Finland hits Russia in the Arctic Circle. And so a lot of conventional weapons didn't work up there. It's hard to get around without skis. And so that's actually how that from war came, that event. These are guys who were really good target shooters, almost snipers, and got around on cross country skis and took each other out. And actually became a sport. So if you ever wonder why biathlon is a sport, it actually did come about from something. And so they got some really cool sports. This almost everything's individual, like I say, and that's why I get into it, kind of. And I do this year. I usually try not to politicize the Olympics, but this year, like I say, I'm not a USA type of guy. I actually do care about the individuals and what they've put into their sport, and the sacrifices they've made, and the triumphs and the tragedies that they deal with. But this year, what's going on in the Ukraine, and how this is a scary precedent that China and the Soviet Union, they're trying to become the Soviet Union. It really feels like it. Putin has very expansionist policies, but China and Russia are really getting buddy buddy, and that's a little scary because we kind of have three superpowers right now, and it gets scary if two are on one side and one is on the other. And right now, the United States is kind of the third superpower looking in, and that's a little frightening. Luckily, geographically, we are away from those guys, and we probably don't need to worry about it. Hopefully, but if Putin decides that he wants to invade the Ukraine like he is poised to do, uh, what's going to happen, and that's just frightening. And already part of the Ukraine is actually considered occupied by Russian troops, so that's frightening. And it's also frightening that the Chinese are there to support them, and not really say anything, because China, let's be honest, China is an expansionist country too. So is the United States, to be fair. That's how we became superpowers. But yeah, I mean, China took over Nepal back in 1959, and now it's not. and excuse me, not Nepal, Tibet, and they probably will take over Nepal someday. But Tibet used to be its own country, and China took it over. And after a while, I mean, when I was a kid in the '80s, Tibet was still on the map. It's not anymore. It's part of China. It is China on the map, and that's not good. And we don't want Ukraine to become part of Russia on the map either. Ukraine has made very clear how they feel and how they want to be an independent country and not be absorbed by the former Soviet Union, now Russia. Anyway, so that what my point is, I am really cheering for the USA to kick the crap out of those two countries this year. I hope Ukraine. Wouldn't that be amazing if the Ukraine ended up with the most medals this year? I would love that. That would be a real kick in the face to the Russians and the Chinese. And so I really am cheering hard for the United States to do well. Other reasons, I some nice stories in the United States. Of course, Shaun White is in his fourth Olympics. He is 35 years old and has dominated snowboarding for a very long time. This year, he obviously at 35, he doesn't dominate the sport, but he's the guy that put the sport on the map, and he's 35, and he's going to try for another medal, although he's almost like an alternate. He's the third guy on the United States snowboarding team. So, half pipe trick snowboarding. Of course, I think this year, and I think a couple of Olympics ago, there is actually speed snowboarding, I believe, and I think that's still an event. There's always new events and old events coming into these Olympics, so I'm not always sure. It especially seems to happen more at the Summer Olympics, but there may be new events, and I really haven't kept on top of that. Like I said, I'm more concerned with the whole thing in the Ukraine, and like I said, I'm not going to rip off my shirt and paint myself in stars and stripes, but I am cheering hard for the United States this year. I really hope they end up at the top of the medal board and looking down to Russia and China and said, yeah, you two go ahead and have your little buddy meetings. We're still number one, bitches. Like I said, not usually my attitude, and especially in the Winter Olympics where everything's individual anyway. I really hope the United States can take home gold in hockey, which is not easy. Hockey is amazingly competitive nowadays. It used to be the Russians and the United States and the Canadians and the Swedes, but now you have they're calling themselves Czechia, not the Czech Republic anymore, which was new to me a few months ago. You got Slovenia, you got Slovakia, you've got Finland has a good team. You've got a lot of places that have fielded. Germany has a good team, and so it'll be interesting to watch hockey this year and see how they do. And all these guys, that's why I love hockey as well. And all these guys come to the NHL, and that's why it's a great world sport. I'm trying to think of other sports I really like. I really like the luge because, man, I was just talking about having the balls or the ovaries to do ski jumping. I feel the same about the luge. I've seen so many jokes about the luge, like just take a cookie sheet and jump off a building, and that's the luge. It's pretty close to what it is. We had a guy die back in 2012, I believe it was, or excuse me, 14. Sochi, I don't know if you guys remember that, but once again, in typical human fashion, they did not prepare for a guy flying off the track. Despite these guys doing speeds of, I think, up to 70 miles an hour. They're basically on the bobsled run, and which reminds me of one of my favorite jokes by Jerry Seinfeld about the luge. He says, it's not even a sled. It's just Bob. It really is. It was that guy on that tiny little mini sled, but it's not like a true protective sled like the bobsled. And people get hurt and mangled on all the time. And back in Sochi, I remember that guy died, and it was horrific. And he flew off the course and went flying into this wall. And then afterwards, like I say, in typical human fashion, we put up some plexiglass, so he would have probably survived if he could have just slid up the plexiglass and back down onto the course. But he flew off the course and hit a wall. It was awful. So there's death involved often in the, well, not often, but it happens. I think it happens more in the Winter Olympics than the Summer Olympics because I don't know how you would die in the Summer Olympics. I mean, you don't really ride as much, you have track and field. Maybe somebody get hit with something. Maybe an archer could take a shot the wrong way. Maybe you could die of exhaustion in the marathon, but there aren't or boxing, I guess you could die, but there aren't a lot of implements. There aren't machines in the Summer Olympics the way there are in the Winter Olympics. And I love the bobsled and the luge. They're amazing events to watch. And like I said, to have the balls or the ovaries to do the luge, wow. I mean, I just don't. I've sledded on regular hills and been kind of scared and gotten hurt. I can't imagine doing up to 70 miles an hour on a cement, icy track and just making that my hobby / living. / attempt to get a gold medal and some notoriety for about 5 seconds. All right, so there's my take on the Winter Olympics. Go USA, and go all you individuals, no matter what country you're from, even the Russians and the Chinese. I'm not hating on you, but this particular year, I am cheering for the United States. All right, you guys, thanks for listening. I've had a good time doing this one, and I'll get a few more out. Bye.